Oh, hold on. Whoops.
Oh, there
I
we
hit the
are.
button.
Hello and welcome, Illumineers, to Let's Talk Lorcana, your weekly Monday night Disney Lorcana live show. My name is Brandon, also known as B24. I'm one of the co-hosts for the show, and I am joined by Liam from the Illumineers.
Hello. It's a
Hello.
crazy week.
It is. It is a crazy week. I don't know about you, but I am in frantic world's last minute prep cram mode. Um,
Yes.
the feelings and anxiety and all of it is starting to rise up a little bit, and I am excited but also nervous, and excited and nervous and excited and nervous for the trip coming up.
Yeah. I can empathize with all of that. What's the right word? Not terrified. But there's just so much to do between now and then, and
Yeah.
I and so much to learn, and I don't know. Uh, but I'm excited. I'm excited for
Yes.
you and everybody else down there. So it's gonna be fun. I've been part of it has been working on wardrobe. I downloaded this because I don't know, it's fun to share behind the scenes. This is my weekend project.
Yeah, I got a sneak peek at the potential wardrobe that you're gonna have for one of the days, and I'm kind of excited about it. I think all the casters are gonna try to I don't know, look nice, for
Yeah,
the event. I mean, we always try to look nice, but it's Worlds, so maybe do something fun in
yeah.
preparation for it. So
So it's a tough. I underestimated how stressed I would be about what I'm wearing on
me
this.
too. I'll
Yeah,
be honest. I've consulted some friends and I'm like, is this going to match? What about this? Does this sound good? Do you think this is going to be okay? I legit I was getting overwhelmed with all the trying to order everything on time and make sure that I had my outfits planned out, and knowing what to wear on each of the days and that kind of thing. So luckily I think I have it figured out. I'm waiting on like one thing to come in that I have on like express shipping or whatever, and then I think I have everything put together. Uh, well, I say put together. It's all here. I still
nice.
have to like pack it
But
and actually,
yeah,
yeah, actually put it together. But yeah,
yeah. I'm yeah. Anyway, so that's like just one bit of the stress. So yeah, so everybody watching, when you if you like what we're wearing, let us know
let us know. We won't
because
know.
we're
Don't
worried.
say it in the Twitch chat, but we probably won't see that. Let us know in various other ways what you guys think about that. We're excited, and I want you guys to tell us also if y'all are doing a watch party or whatever. Fairy Queen, I see that you're going to a tournament to watch. I think that's cool. I haven't heard like a lot. I know different places are doing like watch parties. I know locally, my LGS, they're having like a chaos draft on Saturday. And I don't know if they're doing any watch parties for Sunday, but I think they're doing one for Saturday at least. But it'd be cool to know where everybody's watching from. If y'all are doing like a watch party thing at home or at an LGS, because I don't know, I think this is like trademark. I think I said this in one of the DLCs and I got chastised for it. But this is like the Super Bowl of
Yeah.
like Lorcana, like we're at the World Championship here. So eager to see if anybody's like uh or I guess what everybody's doing for it and how they're watching.
Yeah, no, I same thing. I really hope I get to see pictures on social media and stuff of folks at various places watching. And yeah, I was gonna say, Lorcana Fanatics is gonna get mad at me because I have the old banner in here for our event preloaded. I don't have the new one with the new name, but we're also doing a watch party here in Austin. Dan Lorcana Fanatics has really taken the lead in pulling this together, and a bunch of folks are helping. But Brian Weiss is flying out from California, and I say this because there's plenty of room left. Giant big screen in a performing arts center. There's a tournament on Saturday if you're interested. So if you're within driving or flying distance of Austin, Texas, come on down
Yeah,
and
it
take
sounds
part
like
in
a
that.
super fun event.
Looks like watch party and Mission board games in Mission, Kansas. That's awesome. Yeah, so I hope we see pictures and videos of all this, and yeah, let us know in the Twitch chat, and if you're
Oh, that's
watching,
so
come watch the
fun.
party, and
I like
yeah,
hearing about all the like I mean, I think it would still be fun to like show up and have a watch party where it's just like snacks and you're watching. But at a lot of these places that like it's like Lorcana play is happening. Like there's like Sarah mentioned casual play, Fairy Queen mentioned a tournament. I think it's the idea of like being at a table and playing at a game while also having the tournament on. on the screen listening to it. It just sounds like a really fun time.
I agree, and it's also fun. Like you talked about the Super Bowl, like Super Bowl and events like that are always more fun to watch with other people because
Yeah.
these really fun, exciting moments happen, and it's a lot more fun when you can share them with somebody. The whole audience can sing "Be Prepared" together, for instance.
Yeah.
And yeah, so given that this was such a community like year with all the DLCs and people coming together and the Lorcana community kind of growing up, like you, I love the idea of folks experiencing this tournament as a
Mhm.
community.
Mhm.
So yeah, but if you're watching alone in your house, like totally cool, like have fun.
Oh yeah, get
You know,
comfortable, you know.
check,
It's going to be 2 whole days of tournament coverage, so might as well be comfortable while you're doing it.
yeah,
There's like obviously I'd like this is a dream come true to have the opportunity that we already cast, but there's also a part of me that's a little jealous cuz the of people at home cuz I would love to just like be comfortable and eat snacks with all my friends and watch such a big tournament all day. It just sounds like a fun time.
yeah. Shout out to uh, Steadfast in the Twitch
Steadfast, what's
chat.
up, brother?
Yeah, one of the OG Lorcana
Oh
creators,
yeah,
and has been a kind of it was an inspiration for us in the early days. So it's kind of full circle here.
definitely.
Um, yeah. So anyway, it's gonna be a lot. I'm excited to see the players. I'm excited to see. I don't know about you, Brandon, but excited to see both the players that we have seen a bunch in North America that we know, but then to also see some of the European players.
Yeah,
Ben Simmons coming from the Oceania area.
yeah.
So it'd be cool to see everybody together in one spot.
Yeah, I feel a little. I don't know if I should say like I feel bad for those players because they're having to do like all the adjusting, but I'm sure it's going to be a trip for all of them to come in and be in a totally different side of the world playing. But I'm very excited for that because we just we never get to see these guys, and like it's why I'm especially glad to see Baker because I always thought I'm like it would be so fun to have some of the casters from EU over with us at Worlds casting with us and things like that, and we don't get to interact with everybody across the pond, so it'll be fun to have everybody in the same room. And maybe a little bit, it would be extra fun if the NA players and the EU players get a little. I don't want to say get a little competitive because, of course, they're going to be competitive, but like see which country is the best, I guess. Like which one is performing better and have a little banter back and forth with each other. Since we'll all be in the same room, I think I think it'll be a fun time.
Yeah, I agree. Um, and I want to throw this out too. As I was thinking about, us talking about how awesome it's going to be to experience this and visit Baker. Um, if you all like are watching and you're interested in what's going on, like I know all of the commentators there as content creators want to try to bring that to you. So throughout the
Hmm.
weekend, like any of us, like on through social media, hit us up, like tweet or blue sky or whatever, ask
Yeah,
us questions if you want pictures or you want to know what's going on. Jump in our
please.
Discord server because we want to bring you that. Um, but yeah, so yeah, let us know if you wanna hang out. Link to our Discord server.
That's a good point, Stephen. Ben Simmons being the only one from Australia. Like, imagine if Ben Simmons wins, and it's like NA and EU aren't even that good. Australia, Oceania region
Right.
took it. That would
All
be
this
fun.
debate, throughout the year about EU, NA, and the cross continental challenge, and then all of a sudden Australia's like, hey, I should know. Hold on, Ben Simmons. I should know Australia or New Zealand. I don't. Somebody's gonna have to let me know. But yeah, so what else do we have to talk about before we bring in our first guest as I try to pull up our server invite?
Um, I don't know. I'm stuck in world's prep mode just for like I don't know
Yeah.
about you, but I always feel underprepared for these things, which sometimes is exactly where I need to be because in school when I felt underprepared for a test, I was usually more prepared, better prepared, I guess,
Hmm.
versus the test that I was like, "Oh, I've got this. I know what I'm doing." And then I walk in and like bomb it. Bella says he's from New Zealand.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I think so too. As soon as you said it, I was like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's right." Um,
Yeah. That's what I thought. And I know that's like I hate to get that wrong, so thanks for the correction.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
Um,
I always feel under like that's the thing. Like everybody always is like, "Oh, you're gonna be fine. You know what you're doing," and it's like maybe that might be true, but there's always something more to learn. There's always another card.
definitely.
There's always another player to interview. So it always feels like there's more you could do. You know. Yeah, I'm just gonna get this Discord invite out, and then
What's involved in prep for us? It kind
oh
of depends. Part of it is like the in depth of it is like looking at the format, right, and the meta, both for super. I'll talk for myself, Liam. You can answer however you're doing if you do things different. But um, I test the I say test. I look at the different formats. Sorry, I got distracted by this comment. I think I'm only bringing one or two, partially because it's like super hot in Florida. And believe it or not, bucket hats like sometimes make me more warm than they do cool me off because your head can't like breathe or whatever. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. I look at both formats for super sealed court and triple deck constructed. And they're both very different than anything we've seen. I've talked a little bit in previous episodes about how we're at a bit of a interesting crossroads where, unlike a DLC, in that we can usually reach out to certain players and get some, I wouldn't say insider information, but just sort of like a look inside on what some of the top players are thinking about the meta, what to expect, things like that. We don't really have as much of that at our disposal. We do to some degree, but a lot of players, for obvious reasons, just want to keep a lot of stuff, close to their chest. So I feel like I need to prepare for those formats like even more and have a better understanding of all the decks, with good matchups, what their game plans are, things like that. Because I don't, we can't rely on the best players to tell us all that stuff. We kind of have to figure it out ourselves, and also learn on the fly because we don't know what people are going to be bringing. And then for super sealed, kind of the same thing, except just like looking at the pool of super sealed cards, I was lucky enough to be able to participate in some like mock super sealed stuff with some friends. And so I got to kind of see that in action, what was good, what wasn't. Just getting a feel for that. And then I don't know about you, Liam, but I'm just like trying to memorize card names and sub names and stats and like abilities and things like
yeah
that, especially for the most recent sets, because I haven't been commentating really at all since the DLCs for various reasons. So some of the like set 7 and set 8 cards, I'll still see play and I'm like not 100% sure that I have the stats correct in my head. So I'm doing a lot of review on that so that uh, it looks like we know what we're talking about on the world
yeah
stage.
yeah. I it's a lot of the same. I am the furthest behind when it comes to memorizing cards because that's something I've been meaning to do. But um, for me, there's there's a couple different only have so much time, and there's a couple different
Mhm.
lanes you can pursue for me, and it's a question of which lane do you want to focus in. One of them is the education piece on the cards, and it's studying the card names and the heck, the flavor text sometimes. I even like to know artists, but really the most important thing are the stats and the abilities and all that and the subtypes. The second lane is the storytelling aspect, and there it's focusing on the players, learning who they are, but then also learning the decks and the scripts of the different decks, the archetypes, and how matches will
Mhm.
play out, because you want to know in a deck how that match is going to flow. Like, what is green
Yeah.
steel doing from start to finish? And then the third part is the hardest part because I think you only get it through practice, and that is the emotional aspect. And that
Yeah.
um, because the thing is for commentators, and all of the DLC commentators like feel this way, and I think it was DM Ramada you pointed out, Brandon, that highlighted this to us ages ago,
Mhm.
the storytelling aspect. The goal of commentary is to make people feel something, and the biggest
Mhm.
way to make them feel something is to like convey it yourself. And so and it's as simple as, if somebody plays, my favorite example is somebody plays an Ursula on turn 6 to pick a Be Prepared that's coming out on turn 7. That's a mundane play. for those who know it's coming, but it represents such a big moment in that match that it warrants you getting excited. And when he picks the Ursula, he hits it at the exact time. He was ready for the be prepared next turn. That's not going to be available. And all of a sudden, that wide board is there to help close out the game. Man, what an awesome play. And being able
Hmm.
to, like, in that moment, get in there and help the audience feel the gravity of that particular play requires practice. And so for me, the way I think about it is I've got those 3 lanes, and if I have an hour, I've got to figure out which one I want to devote
Yeah.
time to, and you can't do it all.
No.
And yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that's um that's that's my answer to your question, Sarah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
The emotional piece is something that I'm glad. So I helped Katie cast this weekend, as you did, Liam, for a tournament over on her Twitch channel. Shout out to Katie and the Lord Keepers In. And that's something that I was like realizing I needed to be aware of in for Worlds, is like, not because it's so easy to get into this sort of like, especially as an analytical caster, if you're taking on that role, it's so easy to get into this sort of like monotone, analytical, in your head, trying to see what's going on and predict the next move. But like you said it best, like the best, our job as casters is to make everybody excited, know when something exciting happens, even through the mundane. Which sometimes can be difficult when, like, at the end of the day, we're watching people put paper on a table, right? And like they're playing a game out, but um,
yeah.
you kind of have to create that excitement for the viewers, because it is exciting, but there's also part of it, like you mentioned, that is predictable, maybe, I guess, sometimes with certain matchups. And so it can be easy to kind of fall into that pattern, I guess, in predictability.
Especially when it's the same deck you've seen like 4 times already, and
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, so it's a lot. But I think if there's one takeaway for me, if you want to understand how at least the DLC commentators, because we all talk and whatever, prepare. A lot of people focus on the education piece and learning, the archetypes and things like that. But the storytelling that you and the emotion that you layer on top of it is another,
Hmm.
like, very important piece. And thinking about just the learning the cards and all that, and the academic study is just the foundation. We're
Yep.
all trying to layer something on top of that, ice the cake, as it were, so that it's entertainment and not just education.
Hmm.
But I think that's all right. That's my answer, Sarah. Um, anyway, okay. Well, we've left our guest in the green room for a while.
Yeah,
Um,
we should pull them in.
yeah. So it is the last week before Worlds, and I should say right up front, we've got 2 awesome guests. Brandon and I are going to try to get out of here at a responsible hour so we can sleep responsibly this week. Um, and so we're not going to go too long, but we do want to make sure that we give Worlds all the attention that it's due. So we are going to bring in a Worlds player later on to talk to Sean. First time on the stream. I'm excited for that. But before that, we want to talk a little bit more about kind of what we expect to see, what we're excited to see, the implications of this format, and then a couple other nuggets that will help make Worlds more entertaining for you all
Mhm.
watching it. Kind of dig into some of the behind the scenes and things the players are doing. And we couldn't think of a better person to do that with than somebody who's been right along with riding along the DLCs from the very beginning. Intimately involved in various aspects of Lorcana, from the Lorcana community to organizing behind the scenes. So freshly returned from the Middle East, I'm excited to welcome in Albert Berdellins. Hey, Albert,
Hey.
Hello,
the
gentlemen.
the
Happy to be
third.
here.
I always forget it. I'm excited you're here. Like, anytime you come on the stream, it's always exciting
Mhm.
because you always bring some wit and wisdom that and things that we miss. So yeah, thanks for joining us.
I'm really looking forward to it.
How but first of all, how have your travels been? Because I know you've been around the world recently. It's
I'm
been
happy to be back in U.S. time zone.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, well, we're glad to have you back. And so World's coming up. Like, did you before I like go into some of the stuff that you want to talk about? When way back when we were talking about the first DLCs, when it was just announced, and you knew about it before it was announced to the public. Like, did you have any inclination that we would find ourselves here, like could you envision like Worlds Weekend coming up, everybody getting together from, multiple continents, and is this what you expected?
When you have an aspirational vision of what you want to happen, sometimes even if it goes completely according to plan, when it actually happens, you're still kind of in disbelief. You're like, I can't believe a meteor didn't hit the earth and prevent this from happening. Like, I can't believe it actually worked out this way. So,
Mhm.
so there was always the vision for there to be a world championship and for it to be the culmination of a whole season. But how that would exactly play out wasn't really, clearly in mind, obviously. But it was always really important to me as a head judge and as a tournament organizer. It really felt important for each of the DLCs. My job was very clear. It was to make sure that the person and people who are playing the best actually win, because I know that they'll go on to represent their region at the World Championships and at the Continental Championships. So there was always kind of the vision in mind that this is what we're leading to.
That's awesome. Well, I think we hit the nail on the head. As you look at the players and their bios, who we have representing the various
Mhm.
regions, they're all incredible players with deep history of TCGs. And so there's not a player there that I look at it and I'm like, wow, how did they get there?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm just scrolling through my player list now. But no, it's super cool, and it'll be great to see everybody in the same place. So you want to talk about a few things. We're all, watching this week. I think everybody by now is familiar with the formats that we're going to see: Super Sealed and then Triple Deck. If anybody's not, you can ask in the chat, and we'll go through it. But this is it's new. Like, did you expect, Albert? Like, what did you expect there to be, like, this brand new format for Worlds to force these players to do something that we haven't seen in Lorcana yet? And what do you think the impact of that's going to be on this tournament?
Yeah, so that's why I wanted to come on the show in the first place. I saw your episode last week with Ed Chu, and he's just such a humble, nice guy. He's just glossing it over. He's like, yeah, just another day in the park. And I'm not sure whether he was trying to convince you that it was all going to be fine and the same, or whether he was trying to convince himself. But this is a big deal. This is revolutionary. I do not use this word lightly, but this entire construction of this tournament is genius. It is going to make for excellent viewing. It is
Mhm.
going to push these players, who are all excellent players, to their limit. It's going to test not only the depth of their knowledge, skill, strategy, endurance, but it's going to test the breadth of it and the variety of it. I mean, there is no, and I had to laugh. The funniest thing that Ed Chu said during the podcast last week was, "Oh, I'm going to have to get lucky and all that." This entire thing is set up to remove luck from the equation. This is, if a DLC is a 1 mile race, Worlds is a triathlon.
Yeah.
You have to be good at every single segment, or you are not going to win. So a few things about it, just so that you understand. So obviously, put aside Sealed for a moment. Just looking at the triple deck constructed, obviously there's 3 decks and, oh, that's 3 times as much, but it isn't. It's actually exponential, because you need to know not only those 3 decks, but each of those 3 decks matchups against all of the other decks as well. So it's not just triple the effort, it's like 9 times the effort and then some. And even, trying to boil down, oh, there's only 3 or 4 viable combinations. I would not underestimate the creativity of several professional TCG players in a room thinking about nothing else, trying to win a Golden Mickey. They can get remarkably creative, and if there is a wrinkle to find, they will find it. But
Mhm.
beyond just the decks, there's like actual strategic choices that are completely new to all these players that they have not done before. So, for example, benching a deck, deciding which deck they're going to exclude and how that affects everything else compared to what deck of yours is going to be benched by the opponent. Then this is really interesting. Once you win with a deck, you're done with it. You have to switch. So in order to win a best 2 out of 3 match, you have to win with 2 different decks against whatever your opponent is fielding. Very interesting. So in the grand finals, you have to win with all 3 of your decks. So you have to be the master of all 6 inks. I mean, the flavor is just awesome. And then there's a really interesting concept about how you actually get to day 2, because they're going 28 to a top 8. So almost 30% of the players are going to make day 2. But it's once you have 5 wins, you're in and you stop playing. So you could win 3 sealed matches in a row and then only 2 in the triple deck constructed, and then you vanish. You're going to top 8 and everyone else just continues playing. Similarly, you could only win 1 sealed match and win your 4 triple deck and also make it that way. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out in terms of the strategic choices that are made. So going back to sealed for a second, none of these players have played high-level competitive sealed, and none of them have played it in Disney Lorcana. So that is something that is going to test them completely differently than even how they qualified. And then add the sideboarding component, add the fact that it's 3 inks instead of just whatever cards you get. I mean, every single aspect of this is designed to test a new area of a player's ability. And it's going to make for some absolutely fantastic viewing. I really am so excited for you guys to bring it to life for the audience.
Before I segue off that and talk about Worlds, or turn it over to Brendan. Earlier, somebody asked us how we prep for Worlds, and one of the ways we do it is by cherry picking amazing things that other people say. That's why we interview people. So don't be surprised if a lot of that brilliance makes its way into the opening, because, you know, you should be doing what we're doing here, Albert. That was amazing. Yeah, so I'm stealing. I was writing as you were doing that because I'm stealing a lot of those words.
Please do. I mean, they added an entire mind games component, like, to the construction of the tournament. That's awesome. It's like watching, going back in time watching Roman gladiators, except people are banished instead. So
yeah, no, it's true. Like, so Triple Deck Constructed is fascinating to me because I went to that World Class Cards tournament and I fully expected, after watching it for a little while, to figure out that there is not that there's like a solution per se, but that there are certain lineups which have an edge because of how they're constructed, yada yada. And I went in circles all day long watching these players because I saw multiple players pursuing different strategies and being successful with each one. One person, piloted all the way to the semifinals with this weird lineup with an off-meta deck designed to trap their opponent into letting them play Blurple. And then the winner went with a very standard lineup, all decks they knew, and ended up winning. And both of them were viable strategies that were fantastic. And as you pointed out, the mind games with your opponent, it's like Princess Bride, where it's like, I think I know what you want me to do, but you know what I know, what you want me to bench. So do I bench Green Steel? Because it feels like a trap. And it's just crazy.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
It's really going to be fun. Those player interviews are going to be fun. And it's going to be really interesting watching you guys in the box trying to dissect all of these decisions because these players are going to be making a lot of decisions, more decisions than they have made in any other tournament. And it's going to be taxing.
Well, it's one of the things that I'm most excited about for the tournament is, as you continue to mention, is like all the ways that these players are being tested through different fields of skill and card games. And like one of the things that I continue to hear players talk about is sort of that super sealed portion at the front where they're like, whoever can get 3 wins out of a super sealed the first 3 rounds are at a massive advantage from the people playing triple deck constructed, because then they only have to win 2 more and then they're gone. But it's like, in order to do that, they're going to have to, refine their skills in card evaluation. They're going to have to be able to quickly assess, the whatever pile of cards they're given from their sealed packs and put together the best of 3 inks. And I don't know. I feel like it's just even if it was just the triple deck constructed where you had to win with a deck of every ink represented, that would already kind of feel like, I feel like that already fills this role of somebody being this like master lumineer, that can wield all 6 inks and knows their way around the illuminary. But then on top of that, to also have to do the sealed portion and say, okay, well, we're also going to test you in all of these other ways that like you really haven't even had time to practice with, because we haven't done competitive sealed and it is an unknown. We're in unknown territory. And as I'm saying that, like not only in the sealed portion, but in the triple deck constructed too. Like I know that these players have been practicing as hard as they can for a couple months at this point, because it's not like they can look at the global meta for what's happening, in Reign of Jafar and base all their decisions off that. They have to go in knowing that this is a completely different beast. It's just kind of untested. Like it not only is it untested, but it gets exponentially more complicated, which makes it even harder to test for in internal like groups and teams that you're testing with, because like you can put 5 people in a room to figure everything out, but everybody's not going to figure out everything, and there's layers on layers of this. And when we had Luke on Wonderland a couple weeks ago, he talked about how like there's layers, and he's like, you kind of have to be careful, because if you figure out what sort of layer 1 is and then you go to layer 2 and you bring layer 2, you're at an advantage. But if you figure out what layer 2 is and you go to layer 3 but you bring layer 3 and everybody's still at layer 1, like, yeah, it may not actually be good for you. So there's like all this stuff going on
Yep.
for the tournament.
Yeah, congrats, you played yourself. I mean, you can definitely get to that point. What's really, I think, one of the most fundamental shifts here, we don't usually think of Disney Lorcana as a team game. We think of it as a very individual game. But this event is going to lead to teams mattering. Usually, the only reason teams matter is because there's a different jersey of someone on the screen. That's literally the extent of it, and no one really cares. But it is impossible for a single person to do the appropriate prep that is necessary for an event like this on their own. It could not be done. So this is going to be small groups of very dedicated players collaborating, cooperating to come up with a game plan to test each other. And they want to keep it as secret as possible. So it's relatively small groups. I can tell you, there are several houses in Orlando right now filled with players and consultants and mindset coaches and IV therapy and God knows what else, doing whatever they can to get themselves ready for this event. And it's really interesting that there are going to be these groups coming up with their game plans and how that is deployed at the event when it actually starts.
Yeah, I mean, it is fascinating because the importance of teams has always been, highlight in any TCG, and especially DLCs. You do teams always have that advantage. They can share information, they can scout, they can stay up late at night, and you have playtesting partners to play against. But to your point, talking about how it's impossible for one person to test all the possible permutations when you have, let's say, 7 or 8 people, all of which can play different decks and gather information and take notes and figure out matchups. Like, it really does matter. And even just that feeling that there's a team behind you, kind of like pushing you on when the cognitive load becomes kind of unbearable, is also helpful. So, yeah, it's interesting. I'm hoping to visit 1 or 2 of those houses while I'm down there and see what's going on.
Good luck. They're like Fort Knox.
I know. I'm gonna sneak in like Mickey Mouse Detective. R&B here. Yep. We talked about how we know who they are.
They're the worst kept secret in the community.
Of lookouts out there. Yeah, no, it's fascinating.
So what all this means is Worlds is not going to be won by the most talented player. Worlds is going to be won by the most prepared player that could put in the hours and got their prep correct. That picked the right layer, that came up with the right game plan, that could devote the time and effort to whatever they need to do to win. And all these players are excellent. They are all winners just by showing up, honestly. And it's going to be a real sight and a true pleasure to see how this competition goes for those 2 days. But I can assure you one thing, luck will have nothing to do with it.
It's fascinating. I wonder if we can bring that out on stream. The Twitch will react to that. But
yeah.
Of course.
I tend to, I mean,
look, let me tell you something. The mark of a professional player, they never complain that they opened bad cards in their packs for seal.
That's true.
They never complain. It's luck of the draw, and it is what it is. And they understand that the job is to get every ounce of value out of every card that you play in that format. That's just how it is. And it is you're kidding yourself to complain about the quality of the cards that come out. You just can't bog yourself down that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating. The other just interesting nuance that I took away from World Class Cards, Triple Deck Constructed event, and you kind of hit on this a bit, and it ties to preparation, but um, the the audience when you watch and you're judging these players, because Twitch chat will see every mistake, they'll see every play line that was missed, they'll see players playing slow, they'll see all the abnormalities. Um, the cognitive load that this event imposes on players is exponentially greater than a normal event because every single game is different. Every single game they will play the entire day is different. And you're making decisions before you even draw your first card about benching and analyzing lists, trying to memorize new lists, trying not only to memorize the list, but trying to in real time determine the play lines and the script of a particular deck that you're not familiar with, or understanding why there are 3 different cards in this Ruby Sapphire deck and what that does to the script. And you have 10 minutes to do that before you even draw a card. And so, along with preparation and muscle memory and mental reducing mental fatigue by memorizing some of these things, just the self care is going to be important. The sleep, the hydration, all of that, because by the time we get to the end of that first day in that 5th round, where players are like winning in, where they're trying to secure their 5th victory, they're going to be mentally exhausted, more than you have ever seen at any Lorcana event so far. And the audience, if you're just tuning in, may not appreciate that. So that's something you really have to keep in mind through this whole thing.
Yeah, I really feel for the players. It's going to be tough. And I really look forward to seeing how they perform under such high pressure.
Yeah. Katie, my headcanon, Zach Bivens has been practicing against Zach Bivens in a mirror because he is built different. Yeah, I mean, that's probably true. There might be 2 of them, realistically.
Secret twin canon.
Yeah.
Could be.
2 Bivens.
He has said before that he practices against himself, like will goldfish I guess it's not goldfishing with 2 different decks, but he'll play 2 decks basically, one across the table.
Yeah, that guy's just different. That guy's just different. Everything I said doesn't apply. Like just.
That's what it reminds me. I was talking to another Worlds competitor last night, and they were talking to me, and I was talking about prep and how like they're switched on and prepping nonstop. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm actually watching one of my buddies who's another Worlds player play himself right now. He's been doing it for like the last 3 hours, and yeah." And I'm like, "Man, it's a grind. It's a grind." I don't know. Yeah, I'm just excited.
You should be. You should be. This is a first time ever thing, and this is something that's going to be archived forever. It's going to go down in the history books. Everyone will always compare every other Worlds to the first one, and it's part of history. Super cool.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's kind of a tangent, but it's one of those things where, like the first DLC, first year of Lorcana, first Worlds, like a lot of us, we appreciate that it's special. I think like we know, but I don't know that everybody really feels the gravity of that, because like right now, if you could take any Magic player and say, "Hey, I'm going to give you the opportunity to go back and watch like the first Magic World Tournament, National Championship, World Championship," everybody would jump at that. And those players who were in it didn't realize like how monumental it was at the time, unsleeved cards and all that stuff. But if you could get like a program from that event right now, it'd be so incredibly cool. So I don't know.
I think all of us that have been involved in this first year understand that we have both an amazing opportunity and a duty to set the culture of the game that we want to build and of the community that we want to build. I think all of us feel the weight of that, and I think we've honestly risen to the occasion. So I think we all have a lot to be proud of, and Worlds is basically the finish line with the ticker tape parade, where we can say, okay, this is what we have, this is the community we've built, and then we get the opportunity to look forward and see what the next chapter will hold.
That's a good point. It's a base, and I do see in the chat people pointing out, yeah, it's a bummer that only 28 people get to go. I agree, but to your point, Albert, it's a baseline. Now we know, what's possible. Now we've done it once, and we can focus next year on taking all of it to the next level, and building an even better experience. The whole path.
I think everyone should be encouraged just looking at the way that this Worlds format was constructed. I mean, someone who really understands trading card games, probably several people who really understand trading card games, put this together.
Mhm.
And Ravensburger's gathering new talent and getting them aligned to all the needs that they have. And it's really a very exciting time for the future of the game.
Yeah. Judge Phil pointing out the judges are also a critical part of this, just like the players. They've gone through their own gauntlet of DLCs and prep and all of that, and are going to get to be there and experience it as well. So yes, don't want to shortchange the judges as well. They hang out behind the scenes a lot of the time, but they are also.
Yeah, I'd love to shout out the judges. I'm not sure what the rules are currently on anonymity and calling them out publicly so they can publicize themselves, but certainly shout out to the judges. There's an excellent judge crew that will be there, and they will make sure that everything's going according to plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't wait to see them too. It'll be fun. Anyway, we're wrapping up on our time here. With you, Albert, you kind of hit on what this means for the future of Lorcana already, as you're talking about, pushing things forward. But I don't know. Did we miss anything about Worlds? And as we try to prepare the audience for what they're going to see and what they should think about is going on behind the scenes?
Definitely. There's one more thing. So as we look towards rotation and the rollout of Fabled and some cards rotating out, some cards rotating in, these formats that widen the available card pool of cards that are viable to be played are going to be something that is very important as rotation hits. People are going to have a reason to play new cards, to play more cards, and that's a very mature kind of organized play strategy that it's very encouraging to see. So I think the seed is being planted for a diverse array of possible ways that you can play the game. And that's good for everybody because it allows certain types of players who want certain gameplay experiences to get those in an organized play environment as they rotate cards in and out. So that type of thing should be very encouraging to see.
That's a great point. To echo that, I love the way Baker described Triple Deck Constructed. As he was watching it, it was fascinating. It was brilliant. The players had a great time. You don't want it all the time because it's stressful and there's a high barrier to entry. But man, it's a wonderful dessert when you get to see it once at a time, every now and then. And the more ways we have for people to engage in the game, yeah, it just makes our community bigger and better. And yeah. Wow. Brendan, I think we've wrapped. Any other questions?
No other questions for me, Albert. It was great to have you come in and explain some of this. I feel like you prepped everybody even better than we could have. You're so elegant in the way that you explained this and clear. So that's super appreciated. But we did want to give you an opportunity to shout anything out, plugs, whatever you need to do before we send you off.
Sure, appreciate it. Thanks for making the time. And happy to be on here. You guys always do a great job. So for aspiring judges, we have a website, lorcanajudges.com. There's also a Discord server for people who really like the rules, Lorcana Rulebook Hub. You can find it on that website. Always a great place to engage with judges and the occasional Ravensburger employee. So thank you guys so much. Really enjoy Worlds, and I'm really glad that at the very least you two are involved. I think you'll do a great job. Good luck with it.
That means
thank you, Albert.
A lot.
Yeah,
I really appreciate that. All right. And Albert, last thing is throughout the weekend, if you see things that you want us to highlight or that we miss, send us a note. Yeah, we appreciate the assists.
Thanks, man. But I'm going to be on a beach somewhere in France, and I'm as little this as possible. I'll see it after.
All right. Take it easy, Albert.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Every time he comes on, every time I get to listen to him talk, it's just like,
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, Albert's got a great mind. I think that's why the initial DLCs that he helped with, were so successful. And I always appreciate seeing him on because there's a lot of people, there's a ton of people in the Lorcana community that have helped us like get to where we're at now, whether it's content creators, whether it's Ravensburger employees or players or judges. I mean, I can go on, and I feel like Albert is like one of those people that everybody may not know how impactful like he was to the game, because he a lot of the work that he did was kind of behind the scenes in some of the event stuff, and also with the judge programs or with the judges and things like that. So I always appreciate having him on and being able to highlight him a little bit for those reasons.
I agree. What always strikes me, to your point, is um, he is not shy sometimes with criticism,
Hmm.
but everything that he does, you can tell, comes from a place of wanting to make the Lorcana community better and bigger and more open and inviting and more professional, and it's just awesome. So
Hmm.
if you're not following him, you can follow Albert on Twitter or X, the artist formerly known as Twitter. I've posted his handle there in the chat, and you should go follow him because great thoughts. Steven, I love your idea of having Albert back. After hearing that, I'm sure after he watches the event, is going to have some thoughts on what he saw. So that would be fun. We should look at that. And Judge Phil plugging down here again. Yes, the Lorcana Rulebook Hug Discord is a great place for rules nerds. They do quizzes and things, and a lot of the judges that have cut their teeth in the DLCs hang out there and answer all of your complicated rules questions. And it's a fun, nerdy Lorcana place to be. You should go check it out. I'll post a link here shortly when I'm not multitasking. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. The
Let's move
judges are
on.
the best. I'm gonna be honest.
I
There's
agree.
I don't know who all the judges are that um will be joining us. I'm not even sure if I know of all the judges that have announced themselves that'll be joining us. I know that Googly and Judge Phil are going to be there, which I'm excited for.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most, like pretty much every judge that I've run into for Lorcana has been good people. So I'm excited to see who's going to be there, and definitely the people that I know about already deserve to be there. And I think everybody's going to be in good hands.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, and I'm excited to see them at work. We always love looking for them on the streams too. Um,
Hmm.
so with that, we're a little behind as we always are. Especially when you have amazing guests like Albert, and we have worlds to talk about. Sometimes things run long, but I'm really excited, like really excited for our next guest. Brandon, I know both of us are the same. Like one of the highlights of Lorcana is meeting new people,
Hmm.
and when you're a broadcaster, you really learn to appreciate like the stories behind the people you see on camera, because we love being able to talk about who that person is at the table, their TCG history, maybe how many times they've been to the top of the DLCs, their favorite cards, their favorite Disney movies, all of that. Because when you know those things, you can appreciate the game that you're watching that much more. And
Hmm.
so meeting the best players in the game is always brilliant. And particularly for this weekend, the last, I think, 6 weeks, we've had Worlds players here, some of which we met before, some of which we haven't. It's tonight, we're bringing on somebody we've never had on the show before, who's a brilliant player, and I'm excited.
I am too.
So with that, I guess let's welcome in Sean. Sean, was that a good lead in? I'm sorry. I never, when people are in the green room, I always have to give people some kind of predictability, but yeah, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And you did fine, Liam.
Okay.
You're good. You're good.
Good. So for those aren't familiar, Sean Long was the second place finisher in Seattle, seventh in the NACC. That's how he got his Worlds invite. And brilliant player, favorite. I won't say favorite ink pairing in case it tips your hand at all, but from Los Angeles, and yeah, just I'm so excited to see what Worlds. Are you ready? Do you feel good?
I guess I'm ready. I think this format is very stressful for all the competitors.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't want to speak for them, but I think I really had to ask myself, what do I want to play? What am I comfortable with? At the same time, am I still comfortable with those color pairings? Because we get to bench a color pairing.
Mhm.
So now the way you kind of approach a deck or your understanding of a certain pairing completely changes. So I've been very back and forth all over the place.
Yeah, I can imagine it's difficult for any of the world's players to prep for this tournament for those reasons, because kind of all the I won't say all the strategies, but the typical way that you might prepare for DLC just like completely flies out the window, and there's so many things for you to think of, and even like to highlight something that you just said that I think is really important. Like if you're super comfortable on a deck and you really like to play a specific deck, if other players know about that, like you can bring the deck to the triple deck constructed, but if they have that information on you, they might just bench it, right? So you have to make yourself comfortable on the other decks that you're playing as well, and then understanding the matchups, all the other matchups for those decks on top of the one that you're playing. Not even to mention the complexity that comes with what happens when you're able to bench, a particular deck or specific ink that you don't want to play into.
Yeah, it's just I don't know how you all are dealing with this mental back and forth, because as I think about it, I've tried to figure out what I would do and what my lineup would be. And every time I think I know, I'm like, no, no, and I just go in circles, and then I end up just keep throwing up my hands and giving up.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Do you think you will settle on a lineup in advance, Sean, or are you going to be like audibling until like the last possible moment?
It's probably going to be the last possible moment. I'm probably not good at dealing with locking in a deck. I'm probably just drowning in my thoughts, trying to make a prediction on the meta call.
Mhm.
Similar to how I approached the NACC, I didn't lock in my deck until like 4 a.m. in the morning. And I scrapped everything. I scrapped everything else testing. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to play what I like, what I think it's still pretty valid. And I was just probably coping or distracting myself by playing different video games. So as I'm practicing for this format, I'm still thinking, what am I going to fall back on? Do I get any bits of information that'll kind of help tip the scale for me to pick a different deck? So Liam, whatever you were feeling and whatever you described, I'm probably on that same boat. It's just going to be really tough. Afraid of probably making the wrong call, and that really invalidates a lot of the things I prepped for. It's just really uncharted territories here for the meta. I know there's been a lot of other community events, but I don't know what it's like when you get some of the brightest minds all over the world for Lorcana, and they take a stab at this format. And maybe the information I'm working off of might be entirely invalid. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I almost wish we could see it run back again. Like run the whole thing and
Yeah.
then like reset it a week later, and with all the world's players knowing what they know, just like see how they tackle it again. That'd be funny.
Yeah, that's like personally when I approach a tournament of a DLC fashion, I like to sort of do the thing that it sounds like you're doing, Sean, where you're like, I want to sort of predict the meta. I want to figure out what other people are going to try to bring or what their strategy is going to be, and then like utilize that information and build stuff to give myself an advantage through that. And I feel like that's just such a difficult thing to do in this format because we don't have any information. And so, like Liam, I agree with you. I think it would be super fun to see like a run back, shortly after the event, after the world's players kind of get a little bit of information on what everybody's strategy is and what decks they bring and things like that. And then see like go even a level deeper and be like, okay, now that you kind of know how this works, now how do you change your strategy to go into it? I think that would be super fun.
Yeah, I agree. Um, Sean, so I will say, we usually caveat, when the world's players come on, that if we ask you anything that you think will like tip your hand at all, like we don't want to give any edge to your competitors. So ignore any questions that we ask or plead the fifth or just turn off your camera quickly if you think it's going to do that. But George asked an interesting question. He says, how are you balancing your time basically between sealed and constructed practice time Are you like day on, day off, or do you have one that you're more uh, like worried about? How are you balancing preparing for two different formats?
Yeah, I think, let's see. I think when it comes to sealed, I could go really nitty gritty into it, but I told myself I don't want to stress over it. So I think rather than going full on 100% following like each possible turn one play, turn two play, what interactions it could have with different color pairings, um, possibly for myself and for my opponent. I didn't want to do that anymore. I kind of like went turn one to turn two, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna scrap that.
Mhm.
So I kind of just told myself, let's not go into the 100% route of investing my time into it. Maybe just put 80% effort, understand that variance is a thing. Um, I do know that maybe I could get really great cards or not so great cards, but I will make the best of it. So I shouldn't really tunnel myself into a specific game plan. Um, so there's only so much I could think about there.
Hmm.
There's a
Mm.
limit, and I think I need to know my limit. When it comes to core constructed, I think I've been playing a bunch of different decks, like prior to maybe the news um, of the Worlds format coming out. I think I just wanted to know how other decks were. I played a lot against it, playing Amber Steel songs. I had this idea of what it's like to be on the other side. However, I just want to have that feeling of being in someone else's shoes, get an understanding of how might things change with the format. Um, like a lot of people say, XYZ is a bad matchup. Um, is it because of specific cards? Now that you don't have to deal with those cards, what is it like playing this deck now? Do you have to build this deck differently? And I think that is something I struggled with. So people had a tech call, people had a meta approach, or I guess, meta call. That's entirely out the window. Um, and I think you both understand that, or from the other discussions with world players. Um, I just really drown on the thought of I can only go so far. And the more I talk about it, probably like right now, I'm just going in a circle. So I just need to tell myself, pick these decks, think about how they're going to change, allocate some time to just get an understanding of it and sit with it. Sorry if I rambled a little bit there. Um,
Have you met me?
um, but yeah, I think that's all I could say without rambling again. Honestly,
Mhm.
it's just really hard. Sorry, I couldn't really answer that question effectively, where I know exactly how much time I'm balancing. I'm just having a hard time doing that myself right now.
Yeah, makes sense. I
Mhm.
mean, Brandon, I'm sure that we can empathize with that as well because we're dealing with the same battle of how do we.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely like how much time do you spend trying to we keep bringing up playing that game, the Princess Bride game, with, do you have the poison, do I have the poison kind of a thing. Cuz you really can get too deep into that loop, I think, sometimes, and end up hurting yourself in the long run. And yeah, I think it's a very viable strategy to at some point just say, you know what, I can only go so deep. I'm going to pick something and I'm going to stick with this, and I'm going to, feel out different things for it. And kind of see where you end up after that. Um, but I don't want to keep asking too many things to potentially give or risk you showing your hand, Sean. Also, shout out to the raid.
Oh my goodness.
Uh,
It just got ultra megatonic in here all of a sudden. Also, we should say, since not turn over your thought too much, but big happy birthday to Mr. Earlmeister.
yes, happy
Another year on
birthday.
the sun. Earl, a great resource, great person, great personality in the Lorcana community. So thank you, Ultra Megatonic Raiders, for being here. We appreciate it. If you're just coming in, we were talking with one of the world's competitors, Sean Long. You're
Mhm.
going to get to see him next weekend competing for the World Championship. And we're just getting to know him, getting to know about his prep, and asking him all sorts of questions. So if you're just joining us, feel free to ask any questions you have. And thanks for being here. So sorry, Brendan, you were saying something
That's
brilliant.
okay. We had to acknowledge the raid. So thanks everybody for that and for coming on over. But Sean, I wanted to ask, is there anything that you would like the viewers to know like about you going into Worlds, or anything you want us to know about you that we can talk about if we're lucky enough to cast a feature match that you might be on, or anything that can be, history with TCGs, or just general information about Lorcana, something, an interesting fact, whatever?
Sure. Let me think. Something I pride myself in for my Lorcana career so far is that I'm just 1-for-1 on everything so far. So Seattle was my first DLC. North America Continental Championships, of course, it's the first one. It's my only
Mhm.
one. So Worlds, it's my first one and only one so far.
Yeah.
Um, and I think I went to Seattle because I went to Vegas as an attendee. I think I started TCGs when I was little. Didn't really play locally. It was just, with the meta with your friends,
Mhm.
they would go compete at a local store. I'm that guy who just sits on the side because I have competitive anxiety. Um, so after going to Vegas, I was like, you know what? I want a shot. I think I could compete. Whether I'm good enough or not, let's just find out. And went to Seattle, competed. I was, I think, 1-4, 1 win, 4 draws, 0 losses.
Mhm.
And I just climbed my way back up. But even then, while climbing, I started to second guess myself. I would ask friends and family, should I be okay stopping now if I lost? Am I okay just exiting now? And they would cheer me on and tell me to keep on going. Um, so I do kind of sometimes wonder if I'm good enough, but I guess um, everyone's cheering me on, and I don't want to fail them. I think whatever happens at Worlds, when I play, I think it's more for them because I don't want to let them down.
Mhm.
So the 1-for-1 is probably because of them. I don't think I ever imagined myself competing at this level if it wasn't for them. Um, and I think the fun little tidbit or fact for at least a favorite character, if anything, is Kronk. I really like Kronk. Um, Kronk's a great character. I think he really kind of developed my humor growing up with Disney.
Yeah, I think Kronk's probably my favorite character in Emperor's New Groove too. That's a good pick.
Yep. Yep. Patrick Warburton like crushed it. I need him to sign a Kronk card someday. Um, so that's a good note. When I get a Kronk card signed, Sean, I'm going to keep you in mind. But
Mm-hmm.
I love you're talking about the one of the duns and kind of your backgrounds, not one of duns, but one shot, one kill. To use a military term. But the I love storylines, and when you look at all of the world's competitors, I'm trying to find out more information about all of them, their TCG backgrounds. You are probably the one with the least competitive experience. And
Nice.
I say that not to discount your skill at all, like because clearly, I mean, you go to a DLC, you take second, like you're a fantastic player. But like from a storyline perspective, it's really, really fascinating and awesome because I mean you could sit down across from Frank Karsten at Worlds, like one of the most well-known TCG faces in the TCG community, and there you are going toe to toe with him. And when I think about storylines in North American or in the World Championships, like yours is one of my favorites, because you're here with Lorcana as your first real competitive TCG. And I love it. It's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean that I felt that at the NACC, sitting next to Zan. I'm like, okay, I would watch your podcast in the beginning, and right now I'm sitting right next to you. Um, so I'm a little starstruck from there. Frank Karsten has been a big influence for me,
Mhm.
kind of setting the foundation on how I would approach this card game. Um, I guess, yeah, TCGs in the beginning it's more of a collectible or a collector thing for me. Um, but I guess I'm in the thick of it now, I would say. Um, yeah, I'm still soaking it in.
You,
If it,
go ahead, Brandon. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, if it makes you feel any better, like you're not the only world's competitor that has mentioned forms of imposter syndrome. Like even some of the players that we hold like super high as like goat player. Like I'm thinking of Zach Bivens because I know Zach has said before like when he makes big runs into DLCs when he was at the North American Continental Championship. Um, he was he was saying like I can't believe that I'm here kind of a thing, or like do I deserve to be here, am I good enough? And so I hope that you find a little bit of comfort in that, but then also on top of that, like it's no fluke that you are where you are. Like
Absolutely.
like in on one hand, you took second in Seattle, which is like extremely difficult to do in the first place, especially coming back from the position that you were in at 104, to go all the way to the finals like that, that's more than just a stroke of luck. Even if that was just a stroke of luck, you then went on to NACC and managed to qualify for Worlds by making it into the top 8 of NACC as well. So, I think as a content creator, and I know I can speak for Liam on this too, because we've shared thoughts on this, we definitely understand what imposter syndrome can feel like. And, it's one of those things that like never goes away. But you just got to remind yourself, like you made it, like you have the skills to be here. And you've proven that before, and you just you gotta do what you do best at.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I need a moment to soak that in because it's easy to just tell yourself that, but you kind of really need to start believing it,
Yeah.
believing in it. Um, yeah, I think with the format, it probably feels like everything gets tossed around,
Mm-hmm.
The skills you've developed, how much transfers over to this format. There's a lot of things that are unknown. So I feel like when I do play, how much of my skills actually transfer. And I don't want to kind of let other people down.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I'm good enough, but I just want to be good enough for them. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. There's so many, a ton of fans in the chat, by the way. So they're all here. Yeah. I mean, as Brandon said, the point of me saying you're sitting across from Frank Carson is not. It's what I was trying to do is remind you, as Brandon said, like you made it, like you're in that
Mm-hmm.
room, you were of that caliber,
Hmm.
and you can, because you have gone toe to toe with other players in that room and beaten a lot of them out. So it's just super exciting to see you there, and I can't wait to see what you bring. And you're the other thing is like if you're at 4 a.m, like throwing out all of your prep and going with the tech at the last minute, like that tells me your gut, like your instinct is honed to this game.
Mm-hmm.
And so don't doubt yourself there either. Like if you feel that one of your lineups is like the call, clearly your instincts are honed. Because yeah. Anyway, it's a crazy story. I may tell that story.
Thank you. Yeah, I think, I guess to share a little bit more about that story. And maybe I'm kind of going back a little too far because it's more about the NACC. Um, the way I approached it was that I looked at how many people qualified and what did they qualify with, and would they still play that deck? Because there's no reason why they should or why they shouldn't. If in that case, Ruby was a really good deck still. So I told myself, why would I be playing XYZ? My comfort pick, where there's a lot of people playing Ruby Sapphire. Um, I guess, sorry, let me go back. Why would I be playing Amber Steel songs into a sea of Ruby? If anything, Ruby Sapphire. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
just panicking and panicking, going through different versions. And I guess I make it out on top, but a part of me still felt like there was that stroke of luck where Amber Steel songs kind of survived for the wrong reason. It's not to kind of like put weight onto my shoulders, but it's like if I didn't top, would this deck still exist? Yeah, and I had this gut feeling saying like, yeah, I shouldn't play this deck. You know, there was no reason to play this deck in Seattle. A lot of the matchups were not fun for me. Why would I play it again? I'm like, you know what? Let's just go with it. So sorry if I was all over the place there, but I just wanted to kind of like share that or maybe elaborate a bit more on that story.
It's funny. I like it. Again, your fans keep coming into the chat. It's crazy. That support network you talked about is here in full force. I guess we're getting close to wrapping here because Brandon and I, again, we need rest, and I need to start some more cards. But I guess one of my last questions for you might be my last, unless I think of something else, is what advice would you give to Brandon and I and the rest of the casting team before Worlds? Is there a piece of advice you have for us as we're trying to bring people into it? And maybe is there something you want the audience to know about the experience of, like you, the people in that room, or maybe something else about you? Like, what can you give us to take into Worlds?
Yeah. So I'm not trying to like put a little thought in your mind that might kind of overlap with other Worlds competitors and how they prep, but I think a lot of competitors make a decision for a reason, especially in this format, and it might not pay off. And I understand that audience members might just kind of poke at all the mistakes or everything that's going wrong, but sometimes you're making a meta call and you made the wrong call. And, as the player or competitor who understands everything that's happening, like you're playing the game, you might understand when you win or when you've lost. And I think it's pretty important to know when to be, I don't know if this is the right phrase, like a good loser or a good winner, And I think I would want to be empathetic and sympathetic on what might be going through their minds. I think that's a really important thing because there is a lot of pressure. Maybe I don't speak for their behalf, but I feel like everyone is playing for a reason, and I wouldn't want anyone to beat themselves up on a mistake, whether it's in game or just even from the meta call from the start. So I think that's something I would want people to understand. And at least for me, if I'm playing and I look into the camera, it's probably because I know what you guys are thinking about. I'm like, I probably messed up or he did a really good play. And, I'm in the same boat as you. So just that.
So you realize now that if Brandon and I are on the table and you're on the feature match, we're going to be waiting for that look. That's awesome. Yeah. That's an amazing last thought.
Yeah. I think it's something to definitely reiterate and highlight. I know that for myself, like when I stepped into the casting role, a couple months ago for Atlanta, it was a very similar thing in that I get, well, let me back up. I guess what I want to say is I really appreciate the sentiment of wanting everybody to be more empathetic and sympathetic than they might think, because I think it's very easy to be critical of people, whether that's players, casters, judges, anybody that's involved in this, kind of without realizing that they're also people and that they might also see the criticism. Because I think that's something that people miss, is that a lot of times the people that you're talking about, at least in this scenario, like can absolutely find the stuff that you're saying about them. And even if any of the critique is not ill intended, these players have already gone through enough stress as it is. I think we should just kind of celebrate Worlds, as an event, because like also at the end of the day, like you're there and they're not. And so there's kind of a level to it there too, you know. But I do
Hmm.
think that uh yeah, I hope that everybody in the audience is kind, I guess, and empathetic to everyone that's there for sure.
I do have a quick question for the both of you.
Uh-oh.
Sure.
As casters, and I think this is a whole new format. Um, I guess, what are you nervous about? You know, people are going to be bringing in all kinds of decks, right? And you kind
Mhm.
of need to understand what are they trying to do, or what's the general idea. Um, like, how are you kind of preparing for that? Or if anything, what are your thoughts in general? You don't need to have a really clear answer, but I'm just curious because as a competitor, I'm going to be looking at deck lists too. And
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, what am I looking at? Right. And what's my move? What am I going to be doing? What am I looking for? Um, and as a, I guess, caster, I guess you're going to be in that shoe, in those shoes too. And you're going to be talking about it from a different perspective.
How much do I bare my soul here? Brandon, you have an answer first, or you want me
Yeah,
to?
I can go first because I do kind of have a quick answer. One of the things that I am most nervous about is something you elaborated on in the question, Sean. Is like um, everybody expects the world's players to be really good at this game, and like it is their job to be able to. I say job. Everyone there is skilled enough to sit at the table, be handed through deck lists, you know, look at what they're playing against, sort of decipher what the game plan of each deck is, and then look at your own decks and say, okay, you know, how does this affect our decks? Because you're all world's players and you've proven that you guys are this good and skilled, and I would argue like talented at this game. I do think that there's a uh, level of talent that's required to even reach um, positions like these. The thing that I'm nervous about, or one of the many things that I'm nervous about, is that we as casters also have to do that for the viewers. And we're not in that position, right? Like we practice the game, we study the game. I'm not going to pretend like we study it, you know, as much as the world competitors might be, because I know they have a lot to win. There's lots of high stakes, and again, there's just like skill and talent that comes into this. But you know, we're going to have to do that for both players. Sort of, I don't know how much lead time we're going to have in regards to, you know, having deck lists, being able to look at them before you guys sit at the table. Um, but I take a lot of pride and feel responsibility as a caster to help the viewer understand what's happening and like get into the mind of the players that are there at the table. And so the thing that the long-winded answer for your question is that the thing that I'm nervous about is being able to do those things, being able to sort of accurately decipher um, what people are coming up with these crazy decks, what it was in their head when they banned Blurple in this lineup versus, you know, Ember Steel or whatever. And being able to accurately present that information to the audience. One, because I want the audience to understand and I want them to feel like they are keeping up with this absolute, like, multi-layered puzzle of a thing that's going on at Worlds. But also because I want to sound like we want to sound like we know what we're doing. You know, we don't want to accidentally say something that the rest of the audience is kind of like, I actually don't know. I don't know about that. I don't think that's true. So in similar ways that I think you've shared earlier, where uh, you feel sort of an expectation and like you don't want to let people down. I think we share as well as casters, in that I don't want to let the audience down. I want the audience to know that the information that we're giving them is accurate, that we know what we're talking about. Sort of, we deserve to be there as well. Um, and we can not only do that, but also do it in an entertaining fashion. So that's my answer.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I don't know how to answer this question because there's layers, but I will
Hmm.
try. And it's going to be echoing a lot of the same things that Brendan said. And it's um, to start, like the commentators feel, all of us, the weight of the responsibility that we've been given very,
Mhm.
very heavily. We know that one, we're going to be in everybody's living room, for a good part of the weekend, and we're going to be there with everybody guiding them through the match. And their experience and the way they experience Worlds will largely be, it's not only the way the players play the game, but also what we layer on top of it and how we help
Mhm.
people through each match. And that weighs very heavily on all of us because we also know that there are thousands of people who would give almost anything to be in the positions that we are in, and we all
Mhm.
feel very, very lucky. And so it's important to know that, because when I say that we're afraid of screwing up, or I'm afraid of not knowing a card that hits the table, it's not because we're scared of looking dumb, because we will never ever be able to put in the amount of prep that the world's players do.
No.
We are never going to be as good at the game as the people in that room, based on the time that you all have been able to put in the game and the support you have and all of that. Maybe
Mhm.
we will one day, but we're not now. I, because of prep and everything else. And so, but we don't need to be. We need to know enough that we can guide the audience through the match. We can explain possible decisions. We can explain card interactions. But most of all, that we can be entertaining and that we can help people feel the emotional arc of the match. And when they leave the match, they need to understand what happens. Yes, but people are not going to remember what we say. They're going to remember how we made them feel as they walk away from
Mhm.
that match. So it's about emotion. So it's not about looking dumb if a card hits the table and I don't know what it does, like Josh Paul bringing this random deck that Brandon and I had to decipher in the finals of Atlanta. Like that's that's entertaining, right? Like when we're
Yeah.
working our way through this match. The biggest fear is that we screw something up, or I screw something up, that I don't recognize a card, or that I say a card name wrong, or all that. And it's not about looking dumb. It's because I don't want people to think that I didn't take this so seriously,
Mhm.
that I prepared every second of every day that I had free to bring everybody the best possible broadcast that I could. I want everybody to feel how passionate, like, all of the casting team is about this, and to just to to feel how seriously we take it. And I'm terrified of people thinking that
Mhm.
um we didn't understand the gravity of the responsibility that we've been given. That's what it is. So,
Yep.
if I don't know a card name, I don't care if people are like, "Oh, Liam's so dumb, he didn't know, new Stitch Legendary. He got the number of actions wrong." Like, I don't care. But I don't want people to think that that's because we don't care.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
don't know. That's
Mhm.
I think that's what it is.
I
I think
think
it's
you
funny.
both had really good answers. I had this thought because I try to think about what you guys are feeling. I've been
That's
on the
great.
other end where I'm in the audience and I'm watching. And yes, I am a competitor. I might have a different perspective, but of course, people who don't play the game or don't know as much, they really rely on the two of you to kind of get an understanding of it. So
Mhm.
I was always curious on how do you guys feel the weight of responsibility. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
it actually means it means a lot that you asked, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Um, the last interesting tidbit, just because I think it's fun. I don't know.
Mhm.
We are all cognizant that everybody has their own preferences, and none of us, maybe Baker, actually, maybe Baker, maybe everybody loves Baker, but none of us are going to be the commentator for everyone.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
and that is, at the same time, it's comforting knowing that just some people just won't like what you do, and it's also frustrating.
Mhm.
It's this weird, complex bit of emotions. But I think Brandon and I are the same in the way that we approach um, commentating. Brandon, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, I if I'm successful at what I'm doing, I can have a a family sit down and watch the stream in their living room, and the competitive player is getting some nuggets and are gleaning some fun information that they didn't know, and there's a couple aha moments. their spouse, who is familiar with the game but doesn't really play, is able to follow along and enjoy the broadcast. And
Mhm.
perhaps their son or daughter, who might be a little bit younger, a teenager, or maybe even like preteen, is watching and is entertained because of the
Mhm.
energy. And they might not understand everything that I'm saying, but they're entertained. So the whole family can sit down and watch together and follow the match and be entertained. Um, that's what our gold standard is. And it's a tough mark to hit
Mhm.
because it does mean that there are some people who aren't getting 100% of what they want,
Yeah.
but everybody's getting some of what they need.
Mhm.
Yeah. It'll always be impossible to make everybody happy for those reasons, because during the matches that we try to go, as deep as possible into game theory and analytics and hypogeometric calculators and things like that, there are people that get bored with that and get upset with that. And then the games where we um, don't do as much of that and do more play by play and try to tell a story, people get upset because we're not talking about all the analytics and stuff. And so from day one, my mantra has kind of been like, my job is to educate and inform, or sorry, educate and entertain. I think those have like flipped for me a little bit for reasons that Liam mentioned earlier in the stream, just in priority, because I think although it's important for people to know what's happening, my parents told me this one time when I was visiting back home that I thought was really uh, cute, but also gave me a perspective. They were like, "Oh, we were watching you cast at whatever DLC, whatever," and they said we had no idea what was going on, but we knew like when to be excited. We knew when to be happy. We knew when to be sad. And I was like, that's kind of interesting, because they obviously know nothing about this game. Like, they don't know how to play this game. They probably couldn't name a card if I asked them to. Um, but I think like those are kind of our two primary objectives, is to educate and inform. And if we can make the majority of people that are watching feel entertained first, and then also hopefully along the way um, understand a little bit of what's happening, I think we've succeeded. And so that's kind of the struggle, I think, a little bit in this format, is because it's a crazy format, both the sealed and the triple deck constructed. And so I think even sometimes it's difficult for us to wrap our minds, our heads around it.
Mhm.
But yeah, hopefully, I think we can do it. I think we have a fantastic broadcast team there. I think everybody that's there deserves to be there. And I'm just hoping that the audience enjoys what we're able to bring to the table for Worlds Weekend.
Yeah, I want to kind of take a moment to thank you guys, if anything, because I'm looking back and reflecting a bit, and you guys are part of the magic on for why my mom probably is more supportive of me playing Lorcana. Um, like she'll see a stream, or like a family member will see a stream and they're like, "Oh, I guess Sean's playing and they are casting it and they're talking about it."
Hmm.
So my mom does feel something for it, rather than me trying to explain it to her. You guys are kind of making her feel something.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, because I guess I do have more of her support because of you guys and other casters.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Oh man, we were supposed to come here and interview you, and you're making us feel things. You're making us
I,
feel things, Sean.
I mean, you guys could ask me another question, like, or if we're running late on time, or yeah, we're over time, I'm okay with that. But it's been nice chatting with you guys so far. Hmm.
Hmm.
Oh, thanks so much. It's a pleasure, and it makes me sad that this is the first time we've had you on, because we did a disservice to the Lorcana community by waiting until now. So, but we'll have you back again after you win. Um, so
Hopefully,
yeah.
hopefully. I mean, I do think there's a lot of players I could respect, and like if I wasn't a competitor, I would be like, my money's on that person. Um,
Hmm.
but since I'm in it, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I have to believe in myself.
Yeah,
But yeah.
Yeah.
definitely.
Well, thanks so much, Sean. Like any closing thoughts? Like last question. Any closing thoughts for the audience? Anything that we missed?
Um, I'm gonna say no, but I know it's gonna pop up to me in my mind later on. But closing thoughts. I want people to understand that hopefully all the competitors are there to have fun. Keep the vibes up. I think that's what I would strive for. I think part of my, I guess, achievements have been because of positive, great opponents. Um,
Mhm.
Never feels great when I sit across from someone and it's just dead silence. I think some smiles, some laughs are always great. Um, I hope the audiences, I guess, have a great time watching. Um, I mean, I don't want to reiterate how I feel about the sympathy and empathy thing. It's just part of my scares or pressures of like preparing. I'm gonna make a call. Is it a good call? Is it a bad call? Who knows? But I hope everyone understands I tried. But
Mhm.
um, I think it's not just for me as a competitor, but I think it's also for you guys as casters, because they're not going to hear what, of course, I'm thinking because I'm thinking it, but it is going to be, I would say, extrapolated or analyzed through how you guys are casting it, and hopefully the audience members are definitely very open minded to understand where you guys are coming from too.
Mhm.
And I think that's mainly it for me on talking about worlds. Um, yeah, my mind's all over the place with it. Sorry.
Ours are too. Um, well, thank you so much, Sean. I can't wait to see you this weekend. I'm really excited to run into you in person again. And yeah, thanks so much for taking the time to be here. Good luck.
Mhm.
And lastly, for the audience, if you want to follow Sean and his journey, you can follow him on Twitter here, and we'll make sure we have links to Sean's socials in the show notes as well. So thanks again, Sean. Best of luck with the last minute prep, and I'm excited to see how you threw out your entire lineup, an hour before and brought in something completely new.
It's
Um,
part of tradition, just gonna throw out something and you might not know how to play against it because I don't know how to play it too. So
let's just do it together, and we don't know how to commentate it, so we'll all figure it out together.
yeah.
Thanks, Sean. Brandon, best episode ever?
That was a pretty good one. Yeah.
I
I'm excited for Worlds.
I think people are starting to realize that they can make me cry on camera easily, and they're trying to do that.
Yeah.
Um, because that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Um, all right, I said we were going to end early, and just too many awesome discussions, too many awesome people. So let's do a kind of closing and wrap this up. Before I kind of shout out people and do all the obligatory admin stuff, I don't know. What are your closing thoughts going into this weekend? Anything we missed?
I'm just excited. I'm excited for Worlds. I'm excited for what it brings. I think it'll be the most entertaining event covered so far, just because of how different, unique the format is, and some of the other stuff that's kind of planned for us to do on stream. That's not even a part of the event necessarily. Um, and so, yeah, I hope anybody that is watching it this weekend enjoys it and appreciates it, and don't be afraid to reach out to us on socials. I'm primarily on Blue Sky. So you guys can reach me there if you have any thoughts, questions, things you want to see, whether that's behind the scenes stuff, on socials as it's happening, or something you want us to talk about, or extrapolate or do better, or if I'm repeating words over and over again and I don't realize it, let us know. Feel free to reach out to us because, like you mentioned, Liam, I think we understand we have a big responsibility to sort of bring this tournament to everybody at home, and we want to do that as best as possible. So
Absolutely. Brandon, I have to say, again, before I get to the admin stuff, I am super excited for Worlds, and I'm super excited that I get to share the experience with you.
yes.
Especially, going way back to our early, content creator days,
Hmm.
back to, early 2023, but then getting to sit in the booth with you in Atlanta,
Yep.
and going through that gauntlet together. I don't think I would have I don't think I would have done as well as I did or been invited back if you weren't there to kind of like shoulder a lot
Yeah.
of the burden and prop me up. So I'm excited I get to do this with you, and
Same.
can't wait to close this chapter on the first DLC season with you next weekend in Orlando.
Mhm.
And I say that with you and all of you watching. So shout out to everybody watching tonight. All of you, 161 on Twitter, you 39 on Twitch, especially you Earl Raiders, and then 45 on YouTube. And I said all this just so I could give a shit props to the one brave soul watching on Facebook. Good on you, hanging out there all alone. Come on over. There's other people on these other platforms. But thank you all for being here. We do this every Monday night at 8 o'clock. Next week, we'll be back, not Monday, because we will still be in Orlando. But we may do a show next week. Stay attuned to our socials. We'll see if we move it later in the week or if we skip next week. We're undecided right now. But the post-World show is going to be a lot of fun. So subscribe, follow, do all whatever you do on the platform that you're watching on. And we can't wait to talk about what we saw next weekend after it's happened. And who knows, maybe we'll get the winner on. We have a pretty good track record of that. So
I'm sure we will.
Fun. Live from Disney, says Luke Wonderland.
Live from Disney,
maybe
Orlando, Florida.
Do it live, maybe.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for being here. One other shout out, if you're watching alone, if you're not going to an awesome watch party and you're watching alone and you like chatting with people who are watching, we usually have a channel in our Discord server where folks watching can kind of chat and follow along and tell me all the things that I got wrong. Sometimes there's a pun count that goes on there. So if you want to watch with other like-minded folks, and I'm going to post the link in the Discord or the chat here, and you can jump in and follow along as we do that. Shout out to all of our Patreon supporters, some of whom are here. I see Courtney in the chat. Zach, I think, was here earlier. So thanks to everybody who supports the show on Patreon. It isn't cheap to do. And with that, Brandon, is that it?
I think that's it. Hope to see you guys in stream this weekend.
It's one more week without having an outro. If you're a composer